Oh no, I'm live. Hello, you. I wasn't expecting to go live quite so quickly, but here I am. I'm live, and this is my, for now anyway, my final. Oh, damn. Thank goodness for the fast forward feature. Yeah, apologize for the technical delay. I hope you can hear me fine. I have got an earpiece in today. Just by chance, I was driving up into London and listening to some of Daryl Marble's stream on one of the panels at the Flat Earth 2018 thing in Denver, Colorado. And yeah, I guess I was minded to speak, and as I think I was about to say, this is my last foreseeable nighttime or mid-morning, early morning errand that I've been running into central London. It's been a fun thing to do, and obviously from a paying the rent point of view, a very valuable source of income. Anyway, that's like everything else in this world of ours is up for change. And I know that there's exciting things coming in the future. It may sometimes feel a little bit disempowering to be without a coin, but hey, Jollibee's not got a queue outside of it. That's the first time since that place opened, that about a month ago, that I haven't seen it with a queue. Every time I've gone past there, there's been a queue of, I want to say, Indonesians. Yeah. So like in Jollibee is Indonesia's KFC, and it's huge for them. And when they opened about a month ago, they went crazy. And they were when I came here at 4 in the morning, they were all queued up waiting for it to open. Some dudes just walked into the road. See, that'll be alcohol. Yeah, it's that time of the day. It is a Saturday morning, so it was the Friday night before. Yeah, so this is going to be my last one in the car. Sorry, my finger was in the way there. For a while. I've started enjoying doing them, and something that struck me the other day was I said to my wife about a year ago, I said to Andrea that I said that if I touch the screen, I freeze the image. That I need people to talk to, because I feel like there's no one that I can talk to, and I think the channel, my David Mantle channel, was blocked on a few well-known channels, at least one that I'm aware of, because maybe I'd said something along the way that people didn't like. I've always had fairly strong views, and I don't go along with the consensus on a bunch of stuff. And I noticed that obviously the Flat Earth Conference in America continues to be very kind of religion focused. No, that's unfair. Probably not that fair. But religion still plays a big part in some people's thinking, and that's interesting too. I wanted to talk about can you see that? I might have to let the guy go past me now. Yeah, the beheading video. So it's interesting what YouTube will allow and won't allow on when you consider the sort of things that get censored and so on. They might say, oh, we weren't that good at our algorithms back then. Yeah. We've heard about Al Gore's rhythm. We don't buy it anymore. Better close that window. It might be a little bit noisy. Apologies for that. Just gonna hold on a second and let this dude come past me. Yeah, let him past. Dude in the Jag. YouTube, will allow certain things and won't allow certain things. So this dude Logan Paul has got a bad reputation because of that. My son also tells me that his brother, Logan Paul's brother, works for, like he's tied in with Disney, and so these are people who come from with inside the system and extremely successful on the YouTube front, it seems. Which again, success in YouTube is something that could be, not to take away from the guy, might be funny or ridiculous or whatever, and there's a big enough audience for that. And the guy might be genuinely able to generate the sorts of views that he gets just on that basis. But let's be honest, it's also very easy to kind of have some more Al Gore rhythm to get a guy really plumped up, really bumped up the old rating, and then even get him to maybe create a sort of internal personal false flag attack on himself by putting something out that's really going to get him notoriety. And again, I mean the Japanese suicide forest, and I've had suicidal thoughts, so I don't really have sympathy for someone exploiting suicide. I would encourage people to talk openly and honestly about things in order to kind of ameliorate those suicidal thoughts, for sure. But let's get back to Logan Paul, and is it possible that this guy is a creation of YouTube and of Disney, just like his brother, and therefore is the horrible whatever it is that he's done a false flag, and then therefore does that mean that his sudden out of the blue arrival into flat Earth? And I saw a little bit of him on stage actually at the conference saying stuff about hey, you need to do your research, or you need to I think I'm coming out. Well, if you're going to take such a bold and brass and career shortening or limiting step, then you're going to do so when you're sure about what. I know we had Rob Skiba going, for a year, I'm not sure, I'm sitting on the fence, I can't make it. I was like, come on, man, pull your finger out your ass. It's flat. You're just playing games. I don't know, trying to massage a career into and out of one thing and into another. Well, I don't see it with this guy. I think he's thrown it down, and that's because I don't know it's because, but I assume he knows that he's come out here to be on the stage, yet he hasn't done all of his homework. Or it might be, I don't really know. I've got questions and stuff like that. No, I'm not really. I'm buying it, actually. I'm not really buying it, and for that reason, I have to put the actions of Mark, the drill Sargent, under the spotlight, and ask the question. Was this also like some kind of staged flouncing off? I mean, because I've listened to Mark Sargent's thing, and okay, to be fair, he might be that outraged and hate this guy. He hates this guy. Well, if that's the case, that you can't see after you've been in this construct for so long. You can't see that puppets are puppets, and we, in the average general Joe population of the flat earth awakening people, have had to put up with puppets ourselves, or people who have very little, mostly plastic people, who have very little human kind of stories sitting behind them. Something that I became keenly aware of, and why I am at lengths to put a little bit of my real life into what I do, because all of my life into, but it's all my life, but to offer and people the some assurance, at least, that I'm coming from a place of, I'm just a regular human being. I have no agenda other than truth. It's I'm just a person looking for a better, the right outcome, the proper outcome for the human story. I'm not paid by anyone or motivated by anyone or anything other than my own desire for truth and my own managed to jumpstart it after a quick stall. Bit of a bonus there. So yeah, I mean, he's come on and said, "Oh, I've left the conference because I was outraged by someone I hate." Now, that's an interesting kind of thing, because I have to say I don't really even hate. Well, I don't hate the toe rag next door who came and pinched some buds of my cannabis, leading to his mother calling the police on me and having my entire medicine chest for the year stolen from me by 8 clown-wearing uniformed thugs. Oh, that language doesn't sound like love, does it? No, but I don't sound no, because I don't have much patience for order followers and rule following kind of drones who are just going to carry on despite there being plenty of evidence that this system is corrupted deeply. They'll just carrying on, just bashing away at, well, the law says this and the rule says that, and we don't care that there's profiteering, and we can't see that our alcohol and our pharmaceutical dispensaries are killing thousands each month. But we'll just, we'll treat you like a worse than a common criminal, actually. We'll hold your wife and baby child imprisoned in a room. We won't allow them to use the bathroom unless they're escorted by a police thug. And we will search through every nook and cranny. We will overturn your father-in-law's dead father-in-law's ashes. We don't give a shit about your privacy. Why? Because you had the temerity to grow 5 plants that we told you weren't allowed to grow. Why? We were doing it for your best interest, to protect you, your health. I lambasted those policemen, and I told them their entire operation runs on a drug called alcohol. How dare they call me a purveyor of drugs? I'm growing a plant. And yet they're going out celebrating their big arrest with a few pints of poison. So yes, I'm allowed to be angry at that. But is it hate? No, it's not hate. And these are the people that came through my bloody house on a lie. They went to court and said that I was doing shit that they could have had no evidence that I was doing, because I am not doing such shit. Yeah, all they had was 5 plants, and they had to let me go because there was nothing that they could do with me growing 5 plants. A moment just to say, there's a lot of people who've been imprisoned for much less than growing 5 plants. So I'm not bitching, woe is me here, okay? Just so we're clear, there's a lot of people who's had their lives stolen, their lives turned upside down, and the horror of that. Andrew and I think about this now. The horror of having your whole family, your whole identity robbed, usurped, overturned, traduced and muddied in a way that is almost incalculably impossible to kind of, ascertain how much damage such a thing does to one family, one person, and in a community in which those people exist. Because even in my community, I'm no longer like the guy that people wave to as much as they used to. Imagine you do that to like a whole community of people. And then what does that the effect have that on their psyche over 10, 20, 30, 50 years? You do this. So no, I'm not like a pity party for me. I'm just saying, I'm just drawing the comparison here that hate is not an emotion that a guy who's deep into flat earth and realizing that, we are on some kind of spiritual quest I ask you, how can Mark Sargent still continue to hate someone who is just a tool, who's just he's just a mouthpiece who, maybe he's just a mouthpiece seeking lots of money and doing it all for his own self-aggrandizement. Or maybe he's doing it, as I said, on behalf of Disney and all the other freaks. But hate, no, it doesn't fit the bill. It doesn't fit. I don't think it's an appropriate thing. Anyway, I can't deny him his own sort of thing. It just, having watched Mark Sargent over 3.5 years or so, the same kid who came in with that ridiculous, well, I think is such a staged sex tape thing. I mean, I never watched it at the time. I wasn't willing to put any of my energy into it. I did see a photo about 6 months ago of what him looked like, some stupid 1980s Playboy kind of posed thing, and it made me laugh really when I saw it. I was like, come on, is that a gay dude doing that? Because there's no raunch going on there, man. If that was a picture of me and some girl, like, there would be like, it would look like I was having a good time. Please don't let your skin touch too much of mine, kind of thing, So I'm just offering this to my friends. Maybe Mark Sargent is just a regular dude, but I ain't seen that. And maybe this Logan Paul is just coming in to, become a flat earther. I ain't seeing that. Will he, as Patty Steer suggests, be bringing a lot of people into flat earth? Well, I guess she's right. I guess that's all possible. Oh yes, no, I lost my thread there. Yes, of course it's possible. Of course, it'll do that. But Bob, the B.O.B. was meant to do that too, and yeah, I guess he maybe did. I can't say he didn't. Yeah, maybe this is just a step change up. When I say up, I just mean like another layer of people that get brought into it and another layer of people that get brought into it to ridicule it. I mean, if we're being sort of incrementally, the dial is being turned up incrementally, then I'm going past a school, right, which is called Dulwich College. Now, Dulwich College is about 300 odd years old, I think. Again, that's the history we're told, but it's one of those sort of Tartarian-esque mud flood survivors. Or it was dug out, but it's a beautiful, beautiful building, I have to say. The people who were able to build like that, respect. Dulwich College, private for the indoctrination of the wealthier, the well-to-do, those who want to see their children become captains of industry to continue the fuckery of humankind. Do I hate them? No, I do not. No, I do not. I think is, hey, this is a reference that the biblical flat earthers will like if they're still listening. Well, probably they're not. I've found that they struggle to hear me. But Jesus said, as he was said to be dying on the cross, he said, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they are doing." And I think there is an element of that, of, you know, when I'm, you know, I do think that there is an element of that. We need to be understanding. Otherwise, what are we doing? Are we going to continue the war? You know, maybe Mark walking out was, you know, just him being, you know, morally, you know, whatever. But come on, man. We live in a world in which we're living cheek by jowl with people who go to work and are successful making drugs that kill people. We live next door to people, you know, who are the bankers, who go to work and you know, or write the legislation, the lawyers, you know, and these are actually the people that are deemed successful in our society. Incoming, hopefully not going to be noisy. Ambulance. You know, so our entire system is, you know, the people that we've got on TV, the people that we've got on, you know, the people we've got on, you know, in the boardrooms and so on. Those are the people that are continuing. Those are the people that are. Those are the people that are leading kind of humanity the way that it is. And when you're in Speaker's Corner and you got black people in your face saying that you're the problem, you know, because you're the white guy, you realize it's imperative that we don't get caught up in labeling, you know, the system labels, because that's going to continue to give people reason to say, oh, well, back then, in the past, I'm not living in the future, in the present, I'm living in the past, and I say that your people who look like you did this. Or in the case of, you know, how corporate America looks quite white, you know, and corporate Britain, banking and so on, looks white, and maybe more so Jewish white. But, you know, that's what it looks like, and so it's very easy for people to say, hey, you're part of that. You know, you're the problem. It's not Logan Paul that's the problem. It's the system that has, you know, people so, you know, simplified that a guy like Logan Paul, who doesn't apparently add a lot of value to the human trajectory, is fated and, you know, paid millions of pounds or dollars each year by advertisers because he's able to generate the sort of, you know, watch count rate or whatever, thumbs up rate that is so vital. So the Crystal Palace, and if you haven't heard me say this before, I think when they put up this tower in the 1950s, the Crystal Palace Tower, this mast had the potential to reach to the eastern seaboard of the United States of America. Because on a flat Earth, there's no need to bounce signals off anything. Although there is evidence that they were bouncing signals off large helium silver bags, balloons, that they float up in the sky. Anyway, so did I lose my thread? Yeah, this place, even Crystal Palace, I just want to mention this for the mud flood folks, is that one of the interesting things about mud floods is it doesn't matter whether you go to the top of the hill or the bottom of the hill, there appears to be a similar amount of flooding, so floor rise. Now, floor rising, and if it's a flood in the way that we think of it, let me just pull over here a second. If it's a flood in the way that we think of it, then it would have huge amounts of sediment at the bottom of the hill and very little to none at the top of the hill. Isn't that right? So I offer you that as a sort of consideration as to the possibility that it's not floods as in water that leaves behind a silt so much as just like a rolling magma pile or something like that. Anyway, I'm slightly off my thread. I guess the point is that Mark Sargent, I would have hoped he had more courage of himself to be able to stand up. But then again, Robbie Davidson has, pulled a little bit of obviously a little, I hadn't heard of this guy, Logan, so, so for me it was, other people were saying he's bad. The first comments I saw was, why is this guy on here? So you've got to ask Robbie Davidson that question. Anyway, I guess for those who just want to see Flat Earth grow in numbers, which I can't say I don't want to see it grow in numbers, but getting a look from the geezer with a big jog out at 5 a.m. Saturday morning for a walk. Yeah, we don't trust each other anymore. I do get a lot of strange looks, and I don't even have like an odd hairstyle. I saw a guy I've heard of before at the conference, with like a mohawk. What's his name? I forget now. That guy's going to get a lot of people looking at him, just by his hairstyle. But the way that people look at each other is with oftentimes we regard each other with suspicion. And I say that in my lifetime, we've become far more suspicious of each other than we ever were. And here I am being suspicious of my brethrens who are coming into Flat Earth. How dare I? Well, I'm going to tie this all to Marianne Williamson. People have been talking about awakening, a great awakening, things are coming, and there's end times, and there's 2020, and there's all this, and 2019, and depending on who you listen to, there's a whole raft of calamities due to befall the human condition. And Marianne Williamson may well be one of them. If you haven't heard her name, she's like a spiritual guru, big pal with Oprah Winfrey, and my wife used to listen to her actually, and along with that Dyer guy, and for some time now, or she'd stopped listening to Marianne Williamson for some time ago. I guess Flat Earth has a way of weeding out people who are not able to see. But not only that, she was kind of realizing that the new age cage was also restraining her or retaining her in a way that prevented her from going within and seeking a lot of the answers and the truths from inside within herself, within her divine self. I think that a lot of what Marianne Williamson says is useful and very good, but then I think the same thing about the Bible and the Quran and the older testaments. But for some time now, my wife and I have been saying that we think Oprah Winfrey is going to be the next presidential candidate because she is the antithesis of Donald Trump in almost every respect. But we were wrong. It was her sidekick, and perhaps a far more cute appointment, given that she is also white, Marianne. So that, you know, going to black female might be too far of a leap. You know, the black folks have probably still not got over the fact that Obama shafted them as well. Yeah, so that's interesting. She's announced a 2020 bid, and we think it's a possibility that she gets given a snap thing because Donald Trump has done so much to annoy the electorate by then. My thinking was always that Donald would get 2 years. Otherwise, it would be a tuck. And so I think he's going to get it through 2020. But, you know, 2020 is apparently a pivotal year. And if what Dave Murphy says about 2019, then, you know, there's going to be some other kind of event that means that this whole business of the wall, the ridiculous wall, and all the Brexit bullshit, it's like these things are, you know, these things are all in there. These are all been balloons that have been inflated for the system to threaten you with popping them. They pop the balloon, or they threaten to pop the balloon, and you beg them not to. Because you know when it bursts, it's going to splatter you with shit. So, is Marianne Williamson going to just get, you know, the right kind of, voter recognition through the 2020 cycle, this next 2-year cycle, leading up to the re-inauguration of Donald Dump? I used to talk in Cockney rhyming slang in the 90s when I first went to London. It was just a bit of fun, you know. And one of the things my pal Salvador and me came up with was Donald Trump was dump. So if we were going to the toilet for a number 2, we'd say, "Hey, I'm just going for a Donald Trump." That was back in the 90s. So his name had been seeded into our young minds back then. And, you know, so it might take a little while for Marianne Williamson to be seeded. However, if she's got, you know, if she's on the open, you know, of daytime mums and, you know, other people that are having their brains rewired for them by this TV. So does she bring like that new kind of awareness? Does this other guy, does this sort of walking out of Mark Sargent and this other chap coming in, you know, presage or indicate a sea change? I think time will tell. I think time will tell, and I'm not going to belabor too much the thing. But interesting for those people who like etymology of words and so on, is that Marianne, that name is like marrying, yeah. So marrying. And then, you know, breaking up her surname, Will.I.am son, or Will.I Mason, you know, or, you know, Will.I Mason, I don't know. I mean, I'm obviously reaching here. I'm not an expert on etymology and so on, but it's worth people thinking about the names that we're being given, because Trump was certainly, would seem a trump card for this system. I mean, the people, that's what I wanted to say, is that I see him doing a second term because so many people still think that he's like somehow, even flat earthers, people who know that the whole lie of flat earth, they even hear him creating a space force. I mean, it's like going on Star Trek and thinking it's real. You know, so this guy's creating them a Star Trek Space Force, and they still think he's legit. They're just because you found flat Earth, don't mean you're much more than diet woke. Play the game itself. Wouldn't you realize that sooner than later, I suspect. It's just the board of the game. The game goes on, whether you can see it going on. People are still playing on their ball version of this game, and we'll still have to play a version of this game on. You know, that's just how it is. And but the thing is that when you stop focusing on your feet or on the ground beneath your feet, and you start looking up, then you're going to play a much cuter game, and you're going to see a lot more that needs to see. And hopefully, eventually, we start looking up. And the baby, unless you're into gravity, and then every way is up. So yeah, I think that's about it. I'm almost loath to let this stream end. I mean, I haven't really been paying attention to anyone came in and chatted. I did see a few chats. Hopefully, it wasn't people saying we can't hear you, because I'd be gutted if you hadn't heard that. But I guess like the Flat Earth Globeli, John Smith's Globeli tour, came to an end. It also created certain energies, it brought about certain energies that have then been translated into other things, other progress on other things, and it's really great to see that. I mean, it's really cool to be a part of that. Yeah, it's a bit dark here, man. Damn. I'm just going to pull over here in this light for a second. Yeah, look at that. I think that's what they call one light. It's a little bit too one. You can't really see me. How's that? Hey. Hey, it's Ketchup here. Hi, Amanda. Sorry, I haven't been paying attention to the chat, and thanks for coming to chat. Yeah, I think the Globe Light Tour brought about certain synergies, energies, stimulated people across the plane, actually, from Japan to Hawaii, and, and beyond. Do I think there's other land in the pond? Yes, I do, by the way. Do I think it's possible that that the area above Iceland, Sweden, and so on is actually touching on the dome? Sorry, not the dome, the ice wall? Yes, I do. Just so you've heard me say it, that I think it's possible that, how our map has us somehow centered in the middle because of Mount Meru and everything. Well, what about if the ice that we're encountering as we go further into the Scandinavian countries and so on is actually the ice, and Alaska, etc., is actually the ice of approaching the ice wall? And in that case, I ask this question, and people might or might not know an answer, because I don't, and that is that if you think that Lapland in northern Sweden, which is some 66 degrees north, is about as high as people tend to go on a vacation, has anyone gone to the equivalent place on the other side of our Earth? So in other words, gone up to Lapland and then flown straight over the North Pole and gone to 66 degrees on the other side. It would also be, I don't think such a place exists. I think that's where they wrap the ball around, and So if you open that up, I think it might be possible that actually we're right up against the ice rim when you get into the Scandinavian regions. Yeah. Similarly, possibly the same is true with South America, the Peru, right down in Peru or beyond. That's why the Falkland Islands is so important to the British, that they fought that war over it. And then the same is true with New Zealand. That actually it's also coming nestling up against the wall somehow, or whatever, the ice rim. Or maybe it's just that there's a north and south rim and nothing east and west. We can just keep traveling east and west. But I don't want to get waylaid now on my theories. Only because I hear people asking questions about that, and I have answers on these things, theories. I don't know their right answer. What was I saying? I was talking about how the Globe Light Tour stimulated a whole bunch of positive stuff, really. And you might have heard me say that I'm doing with Cosmic Cat, doing and my wife, doing setting up some truth talks. We're going to do start off with like a monthly speakeasy truth talk thing. And that's an exciting thing for me to be a part of, because as I said right at the beginning, I think like a year or so ago, I said to my wife, I've got no one to talk to, And now I'm starting to find that I have plenty of people to talk to, people that are interested to hear what I have to say, and so on. And that's really exciting, and real progress. Someone suggested to me that, my life is in a state of flux right now, and like I said, this little job that I've had running into London, that's coming to an end today, and and this is winter time, so for a guy whose sort of other income is from gardening, you can imagine, I don't need to tell you that, the rent day that's looming and the one thereafter, it's like how am I going to meet those? So my situation has to change, and hopefully it's not with my landlord chasing me out of his house, but my situation has to change. And Andrea and I are building up what we call the Authentic Path Productions as moving forward. And Authentic Path Productions are going to be focused on, I should have been talking about Marianne Williamson with her in the chat, by the way, because she has a lot more insight on how Marianne thinks than I do. But there's no doubt that she's there to kind of capture those wannabe, those kind of conscious folks who are seeing through the shit of the Trump and what have you. But she's still wants to be a democratic, member of the Democratic Party. So it's the same bird, isn't it, friend? For that old bird. So we are Authentic Path Productions, and we know we have so much to share for the trinity of ourselves, our wellness, our mind, our body, soul. And I come from a fitness background. That was what I qualified as a fitness instructor when I was 20, 21, something like that. And so, I've been into sort of health and well-being all of my life. It's been something that was important to me. And we want to continue doing things like that, but do it in this more conscious way. Do it in a way that offers us the opportunity to bring people together, or show them a new way of living, a new lifestyle, a new way of seeing the world, a new way of educating our younger people, and a number of other things. And to that end, we want to set up a small holding property that has the ability to do some farming permaculture type activities, and then bring people to help them. That's what we plan to do, and I hope to be able to, if I do that. A friend of mine suggested that we should start vlogging that, and so Andrea and I are thinking about this because I have filmed Alexander a bit and very little of my other children, and not too much of my sort of day-to-day life, but I have intentionally raised my own game, raised my vibration to a way, in a way that sought to be better than I was, better than the man that I was. And I have no doubt that I'm a better man now than the man that I was a time ago. And that's because of consciously making that my reality, And I've wanted to be. I look in the mirror. I don't have to hide from myself when I look in the mirror, and I know that by that example, I can encourage others to live a better life for themselves. I've had people come to me and say that to me, that they are, in one way or another, doing something that's had a positive effect on their life as a consequence of something that I've said or an example that I've set. And heck, that's a great feeling. You could ask for anything more in life than to be a source of positive growth for another being, another person, and in so doing, start a ripple effect that it improves the status quo of the entire thing. I sometimes think of it's almost like we come from a village where everybody's in a deep sleep. It's like the emperor and his clothes, the naked emperor. And it's like you're that kid in the village and no one wants to hear what you have to say, but you have to go away and find a way of removing the veil so that they can see again. And it'd be great to click the fingers and think that a Logan Paul could turn up and the world would go flat. And when the world goes flat, then everybody becomes, these sort of high vibing beings who love and care about the thing, in a way that sees negativity set aside. Well, I think that's a little bit, at the moment it feels like a little bit of a utopia that we've been set up for, to expect and hope for. I make no predictions, and it's hard to be sure that any single date in the coming years or months ahead is going to be so fundamental that you see an overnight alteration in the paradigm. If that happens, then well, great. I'm not saying it's impossible. I think it's possible that the Grand Canyons were created in a single moment, an electrical arc. Which reminds me, I saw something on trees yesterday that reminded me that a tree is surrounded by something called bark. And bark is what a dog does. And a dog barks at you. I think the trees are talking to us too. And if you go and spend time with the trees, they are wanting to tell you stuff or give you, even protect you, in the same way that the bark protects the tree and the bark protects the dog. I think that it's there to protect us, and the forest is for rest. So get out there, get barefoot, go ground yourself as often as possible, every day, at least for a little while every day. Try and touch the trees and the other flora. And come what may, I'm just going to keep pushing forward. I have the energy for it, and admittedly, having my family's home at risk is a little debilitating at times. But I've been going through this kind of thing for a few years now, so it's not new. But hopefully it's near at an end, because we're going to change it up. And there are a lot of people who are going to be coming into the flat earth, it would seem, information. And do we want them all scurrying around, looking at their feet, checking out the floor, arguing over whether this amount of level is that amount of level, and all that bullshit? It took me about a year to get tired of all the bloody levels and experiments and so on, and I stopped researching. So when I came back into activism this year, it was like I'd forgotten a lot of the stuff I'd learned about the difference between a model that spins around the sun and something that makes sense. So do we want people coming in and spending too much time in that? No, we don't. We want people to come in, realize that the earth is flat, get angry, and get over it, and find their way to that higher vibration, but not through the mouthpiece of some tool called Logan Paul, or was it Logan John? And not through, we can't help it. The system owns the media. And so, when Marianne Williamson talks, millions and millions and millions of people will bow down and say, hey, this is the new Messiah. And, it is the coming of the divine feminine that we see them exploiting here, because there is meant to be a rising of the divine feminine. I'll close out on this. That if the divine feminine is to be released, then the divine masculine has to make space, has to be the protective cup for that divine feminine to be released from. And I see this example in my own home, where I've been providing my wife with the opportunity to discover herself. It took us a while, actually, and some heated arguments to get to a point where she was willing to review everything that she'd learned in her life. And it was 2 years, actually, that I was in the flat earth before she was like, shit, I can see it now, I give her a little bit of stick about that, for being a bit slow on the uptake. But, I've spent this last year giving her every day at least an hour, maybe 2 hours of free time, away from baby and what have you, where Alexander and I are out walking or whatever, where she has time to research, meditate, journal, which is a very important tool for her, and work through her own stuff. And in so doing, I see the divine feminine rising within her. And the funny thing is that as it rises within her, so she realizes the importance of her helping it to rise in me, helping the divine masculine to rise within me. And you see, there is a very important function, extremely important, perhaps more important, for the divine feminine to be nurturing the divine masculine. But it is in this patriarchal system that we've broken the divine feminine, and she does not know how to nurture her divine masculine. In fact, she may even hate the divine masculine, because she's come to hate her jailer, because the divine masculine has been skewed and he has become her jailer. We see it far more obviously in the Islamic communities, but it's still very strong in our white male-centric world. And I'm not encouraging women to climb up the boardroom ladder. That's a mistake. Trust me. If you think that becoming a boardroom leader is what your divine feminine role is, you are completely 180 degrees off course. No, the divine feminine is meant to be, a nurturer. And I won't talk too much more on this, because this is something that I have only a limited understanding of myself. My wife is probably better versed on this than me now, but I will talk more about it, and I will say that it really, because the men, the patriarchal system has screwed this all up. It almost comes back to the men to disempower that, or to unscrew that, such that the divine feminine can rise. The right kind of divine feminine, not the divine feminine, which Marianne Williamson will represent, who will actually continue Guantanamo Bay. I mean, she may go ahead and close something like Guantanamo Bay. I wouldn't want to make such a stark prediction, but I just think that she's certainly not. I haven't heard her say, "Oh, the banking system is a fraud, and that's completely holding you in slavery." If they don't say that, if they don't say that the banking system is a fraud and it's holding you in slavery, let alone the flat Earth, because I think saying flat Earth is a vote killer. Right? Let's be honest. I knew that coming out about the flat Earth wasn't going to make me popular, and I think that Marianne Williamson, if she knew about the flat Earth, probably does, isn't going to be talking about it, and probably doesn't want to talk about it because she's not on the side of that kind of truth. She's on the side of the bankers, actually. She's the Democratic Party nominee. I mean, think about it, It's like we keep making the same mistake. Blinded. Oh, well, it's a new face in the same party. Come on, wake up. Anyway, yeah, so I mean, I hope because sometimes when us men are like all, and angry and stuff, we're not very divine masculine in that way, and I don't claim to be, the balanced article. Don't get me wrong, but I do know that there's very, very, very few women who have a true understanding of the divine feminine or masculine and how those roles need to be, or those spirits need to be nurtured to good effect, to get the best in each of us. And actually, when you look at the roles of the divine feminine and the divine masculine as set out, then you realize, you can see how each of the different kind of responsibilities and strengths have been tweaked and messed with and so on. And so we're bitter in this place, and women look at men with disdain or distrust, and men look at women with lust and kind of a misplaced sense of their divinity and so on. And when people keep saying, "Oh, the flat Earth is the biggest truth ever, the biggest lie ever told," no, I think not, actually. And I don't mean to be too contentious, but one can't help itself. There is the biggest lie is actually to do with our divinity. Really, the flat Earth, ball Earth concept was always about robbing us of that. And even in the flat Earth cosmology, remember, it's still, the flat Earth cosmology is still sort of a limited plane of existence, nothing electromagnetic. The Bible won't tell you the electromagnetic story, and the torus field, and how things are positive and negative, and we need to be sort of balancing the positive and the negative. Otherwise, as we see, too much of the negative, and that causes a whole lot of imbalance. And what do you want to do? You want to balance it with the positive, so you don't have too much positive. I think too much positive, again, perhaps that's a state of imbalance. So the flat Earth is another box, really. It's just another cage. Don't think of it as the biggest lie ever. It's really just a part of the biggest lie ever, which is that you are, the creator having an experience of your own creation. And for some reason, that's been messed up by something. And I'm here to tell you that once you know this, you can begin to take it back. It's scary at times. I've got counsel threatening me. I haven't paid my council bill, and I've told them they're not going to get any more money from me. So they're threatening me with legal action. Of course, I just had the plods thumping through my house because I was growing a plant, as you know. And the electric company and the gas company have sent me off to the debt collectors, and the credit card companies have all sent me off to the debt collectors. And these sort of debt collectors and letters and so on all carry their own magical weight, and so my whole life I've been programmed to fear these things. So it can be daunting at times. I guess that's why it's good that we kind of can pull together on things, because, we shouldn't be an island. We should work together. This is one electrical system, and we need to connect to it. Hey, there's Ketchup. It's nice to see you, mate. I'll have to send you a wrench. It is the True Earth Realm Association, Terra. Oh. Trini, give me an address and I will send you some money. Oh, Jesus, that's so nice. Is that Jim Lotus? Damn, man. I'm not going to cry on a screen here, man. Yeah, that's really nice of you, man. I don't know what to say about that. I love working. You see, I love working. I'm early to bed, early to rise. I haven't always been that way, but that's how I've been for the last few years. And I mean, I've always loved being stimulated and being in a project that's kind of alive and stuff. I love that. And I love being physically active and working and so on, but just haven't got to the situation where I can break away from the house that I'm in, because you need a certain amount of money to move house, and you see I don't have a credit history, so I can't even get an agency to kind of put me up, as it were, and let me take the property. So I'm working towards the situation where we can create something, because I don't need to own things, but I do need we all need a position. None of us can take anything with us, but we all need some land that we can work. We all need, some purpose, and ultimately we should be trying to produce more of our own foods and so on. And I was growing my own crop, not that I was looking to, but anyway, Jim, well, can I get back to you, Jim, on that? I mean, I don't really want to take money from people. Someone else very kindly offered me some money, and the other day I had to take 150 quid off a pal because I didn't have all of the rent. And it sucks. It really freaking sucks to borrow money from people. So I'm not really looking for people to send me money, much as I might need a little coin here and there. Someone else offered me £100 the other day. Thank you. What I'm looking to do is to simulate conversations with people who are able to or interested in getting involved in some projects like those that I described that would involve. My battery might die in a second, so I really apologize for that. But my car doesn't have a charging thing. It burnt out in Switzerland 2 years ago as I was going into the mountains. My last holiday, and that's where Alexander comes from. Yeah, I want to stimulate people to think about other ways of, and then, imagine if I can take such a platform and encourage others to take similar steps to exit, the matrix, and show people the example of how it can be done and how we should be living with each other, or living with the land and with our neighbors and so on. And thank you. It's really thrown me a little bit. We haven't even met. Anyway, I'm gonna call this short now, and if you're at the Flat Earth Conference in America, have a super time and so on. Don't drink too much alcohol. Is my only advice. And make connections. Yeah, well, I'm sure you already are. Make those networking connections and start little fires in your neighborhood. And soon enough, people will come and say, "Hey, what can you tell me?" Because you've been looking at this for a long time. I think we'll get to that point where people will be looking for leaders to offer them insights, And if you're still stuck in the, oh, we hate the system, we hate this, we hate that, then you're not going to get people focusing their energy. What's that they say? Energy goes where energy goes where intention flows. No, energy flows where intention goes. And we want intention to go good and positive and loving and starting to trust one another and be there for one another. Thanks again, Jim. Anyway, I'm grateful for this time that I've had to talk with you, and I'm grateful for those people who are paying attention or giving me a little bit of airtime. I'm really grateful for that. My channel's sitting at 670 subscribers, and it's in 6 months, 7 months, I don't know, maybe 8. And I'm honored, really, that people are still listening to me. And people who actually have been around in this community for some time and who've been listening to a lot of speakers. So, that I'm in that crowd is a affirmation for me to continue doing what I'm doing and sharing and contributing and being part of something, and hopefully in time, well, we'll see where it leads. We can only do each day, one day at a time. And just try and put our best foot forward. We don't always get it right, but every day is an opportunity for us to grow and learn more and stuff. I'm really almost. Yeah. Thanks again, Jim. I must go. Cheers, guys. Thanks.